The cowboy sheltered the widow and her sister. Then both brides fought to warm his bedroll. The first time Clara stepped onto the ranch, she felt as if she had entered a different world. The wind moved across the fields like a soft, invisible hand. The sky was wide and open, and the sun was low, making everything look golden. She held her sister May's hand tightly, as if letting go would cause them both to fall apart. Clara had not wanted to come here. She had dreamed of staying in the town where she and her husband had lived. She had imagined living in the small house they had built together, surrounded by memories. But after his death, she had no home left. The town felt too full of reminders, too full of empty rooms. Every corner of the house would speak his name, and every sound would bring back the past. May had been the one to convince her to leave. She was younger, stronger, and more stubborn. She had always believed that if they moved forward, the pain would not follow them.
May did not cry often. She believed crying made a person weak.
She believed in action. She believed in moving. So they left everything behind and traveled toward the ranch that had offered them shelter. It was not a place they knew well. Clara had heard stories about the cowboy who owned it. His name was Caleb, and people said he was a quiet man who kept to himself. They said he worked hard and did not trust easily. They said he did not like strangers. Clara worried about what kind of man would live alone in the middle of nowhere. She worried about how he would look at them. She worried about the way he might judge them. But she had no choice. Winter was coming, and Clara knew that if they stayed in the town, they would not survive. She did not have money. She did not have family. She only had May and the small bag of belongings they carried. May, on the other hand, seemed almost excited. She looked out across the land as if she could see something new in every direction. She smiled, even though her eyes were tired. Clara had always admired May's strength. May could lift heavy things, ride a horse, and speak to strangers without fear. Clara could not do any of those things. She had been a housewife, a wife, and a caretaker. She had not been a person who needed to fight for survival. Now she had to. When they reached the ranch, Caleb was standing outside looking at the horizon. He did not look at them at first. He only watched the land, like he was measuring it in his mind. He wore a worn hat, and his coat looked thick and old. His face was calm, but there was a hard edge to it. He did not look like someone who welcomed visitors. May stepped forward first. She did not bow. She did not act scared. She spoke clearly and politely, but her voice was firm. "Sir, we need a place to stay. My sister and I have nowhere else to go." Caleb turned slowly and looked at them. His eyes were quiet and dark. For a moment, Clara felt a chill. She wondered if he would send them away. Then May noticed something. There was a softness in his face that did not show at first. His eyes looked tired. They looked like a man who had seen many things and had learned not to trust easily. But there was also a kind of loneliness there. Clara saw it, and it made her heart ache. Caleb studied them for a moment, and then he asked, "Why are you here?" May answered quickly, "Our husband died. We have no family. The town is too expensive.
We can't stay there." Caleb nodded slowly.
He did not say much, but his silence said something too. It said he understood hardship. It said he had known loss. Clara did not know how he knew, but she felt that he did. He stepped closer and looked at their small bag of belongings. He saw the worn clothes, the small amount of food, and the thin blankets. He saw the way Clara held her sister's hand, like she was afraid to let go. He looked at May again, and his voice was quiet when he spoke.
You can stay, but you must work. May's face relaxed.
Clara felt her shoulders drop with relief. It was not much, but it was enough. Thank you, May said, and she bowed her head slightly. Caleb nodded and turned toward the house. The ranch was simple. It was not a large home. It was made of wood, and it looked like it had been built to survive storms and harsh winters. There were a few horses in the stable. A couple of cows wandered near the fence. The land around it was wide and open, with hills that rose and fell like the back of a sleeping animal. Clara followed Caleb into the house, and she felt the warmth immediately. It was not a fancy home, but it was clean. It smelled of wood smoke and soap. There were few decorations, but there was a sense of order. And everything had a place. Caleb pointed to a small room in the back. You can sleep there. Clara looked at the room. It was small, but it had a bed and a window. She could see the snow starting to fall outside. She could feel the cold coming. The room looked safe. It looked like a place where she could rest. May walked inside the room first and looked around. She nodded once.
It's fine, she said. Clara wanted to say more.
She wanted to thank him. She wanted to cry, but she could not. Her throat felt tight. She felt a strange mix of relief and fear. She looked at Caleb. We will work, she said softly. Caleb nodded. Good. You can start tomorrow. That night, Clara lay in the bed and listened to the wind outside. She could hear the horses moving in the stable. She could hear May's quiet breathing in the other room. She felt the weight of everything she had lost. She had never been alone before. She had never had to survive without her husband. She had never had to make decisions on her own. She had always believed that her life would follow a certain path, and now that path was gone. She thought about the way Caleb looked at them. He was not cruel. He was not unkind, but he was not warm either. He was a man who had learned to keep his heart protected. Clara wondered what kind of person he had been before he became a cowboy. She wondered if he had ever loved someone. She wondered if he had ever been hurt. The next morning, May woke early. She was already dressed and ready to work. Clara could hear her moving around the kitchen, preparing breakfast. May was always like that. She did not waste time. She believed that action could solve anything. She believed that if they kept moving, they would not fall into despair. Caleb entered the kitchen and he looked at the two sisters. He had a hard look on his face, but it was not unfriendly. He handed May a list of chores. You will start with the animals, he said. Clara, you will help inside. Clara nodded. She felt nervous, but she tried to appear brave. She did not want to show weakness in front of May or Caleb. May smiled at her.
We can do this,
she whispered. Clara nodded again. She followed Caleb to the house and started working. She washed dishes, swept the floor, and helped prepare food. It was not difficult work, but it was hard because she was not used to it. She had always been the one who cared for her home, but she had never been responsible for a whole ranch. May returned from the stables with a tired face, but she looked proud. She had already fed the animals and cleaned the barn. She had even helped Caleb repair a broken fence. Caleb watched her work without saying much. He did not praise her openly. He did not need to. May did not need praise. She needed action. But Clara noticed something else. She noticed the way Caleb looked at May when she was working. It was not a romantic look. It was more like respect. It was like he saw someone who understood the land and knew how to survive. It was like he was thinking, maybe this person can stay. Clara felt a strange emotion. She felt grateful that her sister could work. She felt proud of her, but she also felt a tiny sting of jealousy. She wondered if Caleb would ever look at her with that kind of respect. Clara was not as strong as May. She was not as brave. She was not as confident. She had always been the one who stayed behind, who cared for the home, who waited. Now she was afraid that she would be left behind again. That afternoon, the two sisters sat by the fire. The wind outside had grown stronger, and the sky had turned gray. The snow had started to fall more heavily. Clara looked out the window and felt a cold shiver. She thought about how long the winter would last. She thought about how much work there was to do. May noticed her sister's silence. "You are thinking too much," she said. Clara smiled weakly. "I'm just worried," she admitted. May looked at her. "We will be fine," she said. "We have each other. We have work. And we have this place." Clara wanted to believe her. She wanted to believe that this ranch could become a home. But she could not shake the feeling that they were still guests. She could not shake the feeling that Caleb could ask them to leave at any time.
That night, Caleb sat near the fire and watched them.
He did not speak much. He did not ask questions. He did not try to get close. But Clara noticed something else again. She noticed the way he moved. He moved like someone who had lived a life of hardship. He moved like someone who had learned to be careful. She wondered what he had lost. She wondered if he had ever been as lonely as she felt. As the days passed, Clara and May continued to work. They learned how to cook for a larger household. They learned how to clean quickly and efficiently. They learned how to repair clothes. They learned how to keep the fire burning. They learned how to stay calm when the wind was loud and the snow was heavy. Clara began to feel a strange sense of peace. It was not the peace she had imagined. It was not the peace of a happy home. It was the peace of being useful. It was the peace of knowing she had a purpose again. May began to grow stronger. She began to look less like a frightened girl and more like a woman who could survive. She began to smile more. She began to speak to Caleb more often. She began to ask questions. Caleb answered her questions, but he did not share much about himself. He spoke only when necessary. He did not talk about his past. He did not talk about his feelings. He did not talk about his loneliness. But Clara noticed that he was not completely closed. There were moments when his eyes softened. There were moments when he looked at the sisters as if he was thinking about their future. Clara began to realize something. Caleb was not just a man who offered shelter. He was a man who understood what it meant to lose someone. He was a man who had learned to survive. He was a man who had chosen to live alone because it was easier than being hurt again. Clara felt a small change in her heart. She felt the first hint of trust. She felt the first hint of hope. She did not know what the future would bring. She did not know if they would stay on the ranch forever. She did not know if Caleb would ever truly accept them. But she knew one thing. For the first time since her husband's death, she felt like she was not completely alone. And that feeling was stronger than the fear. The winter grew deeper, and the ranch became a world of white. Snow covered the ground like a soft blanket. The trees looked like they were wearing white coats. The wind moved in long, steady waves, and the sound of it was constant. Clara and May woke up each morning to the same quiet, the same cold, and the same tasks. Clara had never known a winter like this. In her old town, the cold had been strong, but it was never this constant. Here, the cold did not come and go. It stayed. It wrapped itself around everything. It made the air feel heavy. It made every movement harder. At first, Clara had been afraid. She had feared the silence, the emptiness and the long nights. But as the days passed, she began to understand the rhythm of this life. The ranch had its own pace. The work kept her busy. The routine gave her comfort. She began to feel like she belonged. May, as always, seemed to adapt quickly. She rose early and moved with purpose. She fed the animals, chopped wood, and fixed fences. She did not complain. She did not show fear. She only moved forward, one step at a time. Caleb watched her work. He watched her with a quiet respect. He did not praise her, but he did not ignore her either. He treated her as someone who could handle the work. He treated her as an equal. Clara noticed this, and she felt both proud and worried. Proud because May was strong, and worried because she knew the world could be unfair. She knew that people could use strength to take advantage of others. She knew that a man like Caleb could respect May's work and still not trust her. Clara tried to stay close to May. She tried to be her sister's support. She tried to be the calm voice in the middle of the storm. One day, after the morning work was done, Clara found herself alone with Caleb in the kitchen. May had gone to the barn to check the animals. The fire was burning brightly, and the room was warm. The smell of stew filled the air. Caleb was cleaning a pot, moving his hands with careful movements. Clara watched him for a moment. She realized that he had a certain grace in the way he worked. He moved like someone who had done this for years. Clara did not know what to say. She had never been good at speaking to men who were not her husband. She did not know how to talk to someone like Caleb. She did not know how to show gratitude without feeling weak. But she could not stay silent forever. She finally said, "Thank you for letting us stay here." Caleb paused. He looked at her, and his eyes softened for a moment. "You are welcome," he said. "But you must remember, this is not a charity. You will work." Clara nodded. "We will work," she said. "We want to help." Caleb nodded once. "Good," he said. Clara felt a small warmth in her chest. She was grateful that he had given them shelter. She was grateful that he had not turned them away. She was grateful that he had not judged them too harshly. But she also felt a strange feeling of being watched. She felt that Caleb was looking at her in a way that she did not understand. She felt that he was trying to measure her, to understand her, to decide if she belonged here. Clara tried to ignore the feeling. She focused on the work. She focused on the routine. She focused on the small tasks that kept her mind busy. But the feeling did not go away. May returned from the barn, and she looked tired. She sat down near the fire and rubbed her hands together to warm them.
"Did you talk to him?" May asked Clara.
Clara nodded, just a little. May smiled. "Good," she said. "You should talk more. He is not as scary as you think." Clara looked at her sister. "I know," she said softly, "but he is different." May leaned back and looked at Caleb. "He is a good man," she said. "He just does not like to show it." Clara watched Caleb. She realized that May was right. Caleb was a good man. He was not cruel. He was not unkind. He was just quiet. And Clara began to understand that the quiet was not emptiness. It was a choice. It was his way of protecting himself. As the days passed, the sisters continued their work. They became more skilled. They learned how to handle the animals. They learned how to keep the fire burning. They learned how to fix things quickly. They learned how to live in a world where everything was harder. Clara also began to notice small details about Caleb. She noticed the way he cared for the animals. She noticed the way he fixed things without complaining. She noticed the way he kept the house clean. even though he was a man who worked outside all day. She noticed the way he sometimes looked at the sisters, as if he was thinking about them. She noticed the way he would stand near the window and watch the snow. One night, as they sat by the fire, May asked Caleb a question. "Have you ever been married?" she asked. Caleb paused. He looked at her, and for a moment, his face changed. It looked like a shadow passed over it. He looked away and then answered quietly, "No." May looked surprised.
"Never?" she asked. Caleb shook his head.
"No," he said. "I never had the chance."
Clara felt her heart tighten. She did not know why, but she felt a deep sadness in his answer. She felt that he had lived a life of missed opportunities. She felt that he had chosen to be alone because he believed that love was too dangerous. May looked at him.
"You must have been lonely," she said. Caleb nodded once.
"I was," he said. There was a silence after that. The fire crackled and the snow fell outside. Clara could feel the tension in the room. She could feel that something had changed. For the first time, Clara felt that Caleb was not just a man who offered shelter. He was a man with a past. He was a man with feelings. He was a man who had been hurt. Clara felt a strange connection to him. She felt that he understood loss. She felt that he understood loneliness. She felt that he understood what it meant to be afraid. She wondered if he could ever trust again. May, on the other hand, seemed more confident than ever. She moved closer to Caleb and spoke to him more often. She asked him about the land. She asked him about the animals. She asked him about his life. Caleb answered her, but he did not open up. He did not share his feelings. He did not share his dreams. He only shared what was necessary. Clara began to notice that May was changing. She was becoming more bold. She was becoming more comfortable in Caleb's presence. She was becoming more like a woman who could survive on her own. Clara was proud of her sister, but she also felt a strange fear. She feared that May would grow too close to Caleb. She feared that Caleb would see May as a partner and not see Clara. Clara had always been the one who stayed behind. She had always been the one who cared for others. She had always been the one who waited. Now, she was afraid that she would be forgotten. One evening, a strong wind blew through the ranch. The snow was heavy and the temperature dropped. The sisters and Caleb knew that it would be a long night. They prepared extra food. They prepared extra firewood. They closed the windows tightly. As the night grew darker, the wind grew louder. It sounded like a giant moving across the land. The house shook slightly, and the sisters felt a small fear. Clara sat near the fire and held her hands close to the warmth. She looked at Caleb and May. She felt the closeness of them, and she felt a strange feeling of belonging. She felt that they were a small family, even though they were not related. May looked at Clara and smiled. "We are okay," she said. "We will get through this."
"Yes," she said, "we will."
Caleb watched them quietly. He did not say anything, but Clara felt that he was thinking. She felt that he was watching them with a protective eye. That night, Clara dreamed. She dreamed of her husband. She dreamed of the life she had lost. She dreamed of the small house in the town. She dreamed of the old days. But she also dreamed of something else. She dreamed of a life where she was not alone. She dreamed of a life where she could be safe. She dreamed of a life where she could be loved again. When she woke up the next morning, she felt different. She felt a small hope. She felt a small courage. She looked at May, who was already up and working. She looked at Caleb, who was preparing breakfast. She felt that she had found a new beginning. She did not know what the future would bring. She did not know if Caleb would ever truly accept them. She did not know if she would ever find love again. But she knew that she was no longer the same woman who had arrived at the ranch weeks ago. She was stronger. She was braver. She was ready to face the winter, the work, and the unknown. And she knew that no matter what happened, she would not face it alone. Spring arrived slowly, like a quiet visitor. At first, the snow began to melt in small patches. Then the ground started to show itself again. The trees grew tiny green buds. The air felt lighter. The sky seemed brighter. Clara could feel the change in her bones. She could feel the world waking up. For weeks, she had lived in the rhythm of winter. She had learned the routine of survival. She had learned how to make the fire last through the night. She had learned how to keep the animals fed, even when the snow covered the fields. She had learned how to stay calm when the wind roared. Now with spring, the ranch began to feel like a different place. The land was no longer a white blanket. It was a patchwork of green and brown. The animals moved more freely. The days were longer. The work changed. Clara felt a new energy inside her. She felt like she could breathe again. She felt like she could think about the future. May, too, seemed to change. She smiled more. She laughed more. She began to talk about the things she wanted to do. She spoke about leaving the ranch one day and finding a new place to live. She spoke about starting a small business. She spoke about meeting new people. Clara listened to her sister's dreams and felt both happy and sad. She was happy because May was alive again. She was sad because she knew that May's dreams might not include the ranch. She knew that May might not want to stay. Caleb noticed the change too. He noticed that the sisters were becoming more confident. He noticed that they were becoming more like a part of the ranch instead of guests. He noticed that May was becoming more comfortable around him. One day, he asked May to help him with a task outside. He needed someone to help him move a heavy piece of equipment. May agreed quickly. She grabbed her coat and followed him. Clara watched them leave. She felt a strange feeling in her chest. She felt like she was being left behind. She tried to ignore it, but it stayed. She went back to the house and continued her work. She cooked, cleaned, and prepared food. She felt useful, but she also felt alone. When Caleb and May returned, they looked tired but satisfied. May's cheeks were rosy from the cold. She smiled at Clara and said, "We did it. It was hard, but we did it." Clara smiled back. "Good," she said. May looked at Caleb and then at Clara. "He is a good man," she said. "He is strong. He is kind. He just needs someone to trust." Clara nodded. She did not know what to say. She did not want to argue with her sister, but she also did not want to admit that she felt something more than friendship for Caleb. As the days passed, the sisters began to notice that Caleb was becoming more attentive. He started to ask Clara questions. He started to talk to her more. He started to notice the small things she did. Clara felt both nervous and happy. She did not know how to act. She did not know if she should show him her feelings or keep them hidden. One afternoon, while Clara was sewing a patch on a coat, Caleb walked into the room. He stood near the window and looked at the sky. He seemed lost in thought. Clara stopped sewing and looked at him. "Is everything okay?" she asked. Caleb turned and looked at her. His eyes were gentle.
"Wow!"
"Yes," he said. "I am thinking." Clara nodded. "About what?" she asked softly. Caleb looked at her for a moment.
About the future, he said. About this place.
About what will happen when the season changes. Clara felt her heart beat faster. She wondered if he was thinking about them leaving. She wondered if he was thinking about the fact that they had no home. She felt a sudden fear. What if he wanted them to leave? What if he had only taken them in because he felt sorry for them? She looked at him and tried to keep her voice calm. "We will stay as long as you need us," she said. Caleb nodded. "I know," he said, "but I am thinking about what will happen after." Clara did not know what to say. She felt a sudden weight in her chest. She felt that something important was about to change. That evening, after dinner, May went to the barn again. She said she needed to check the animals. Clara stayed inside and sat near the fire. She could feel the warmth of it, but she could also feel the emptiness in the room. Caleb sat across from her. He did not speak for a while. He just looked at the fire. Then he finally spoke.
"You are good at this," he said. Clara looked at him.
"At what?" she asked. "At taking care of the house," he said. "At making things feel like a home." Clara felt her face warm. She looked down at her hands. She did not know how to respond. She did not want to sound like she was asking for praise. She did not want to sound like she was begging for attention. But she could not ignore the feeling that his words had brought. "Thank you," she said softly. Caleb nodded. "You are welcome," he said. "You and your sister have made this place better." Clara felt a small tear in her eye. She quickly wiped it away. She did not want Caleb to see her cry. She did not want him to think she was weak, but he saw it anyway. He stood up and walked toward her. He sat down near her. He did not touch her, but he was close enough that she could feel his presence. Clara felt her heart beating faster. She felt a strange warmth. She felt a feeling she had not felt since her husband's death. She felt hope. Caleb looked at her and spoke softly. "I know you have been through a lot," he said. "I know you are scared, but I want you to know that you are safe here." Clara looked at him, and she felt a wave of emotion. She wanted to say so much, but the words were stuck in her throat. She wanted to tell him about her husband. She wanted to tell him about the pain. She wanted to tell him that she was afraid of being alone again. But she did not. Instead, she nodded. "Thank you," she said again. Caleb nodded. He stood up and walked away. Clara watched him go. She felt a strange sadness. She wanted him to stay. She wanted him to say more. She wanted him to show her that he cared, but he did not. That night, Clara lay in bed and thought about Caleb. She thought about his words. She thought about the way he had looked at her. She thought about the way he had spoken to her. She wondered if he could ever love again. She wondered if she could ever love again. She wondered if she could be brave enough to let someone into her heart. The next morning, the weather was clear. The sun shone brightly. The land looked alive. The air felt fresh. Clara felt a small happiness inside her. May was in a good mood. She was humming as she worked. She seemed lighter than before. Clara smiled at her. She was glad that May was happy, but she also noticed that May was looking at Caleb differently. May was not just looking at him with respect. She was looking at him with interest. She was looking at him with a feeling that Clara could not understand. Clara tried to ignore it. She tried to focus on her work. She tried to focus on the tasks that kept her mind busy, but the feeling did not go away. That afternoon, May came into the house and said she wanted to talk to Clara. Clara followed her into the small room. May sat down on the bed and looked at her. "Clara," she said, "I think Caleb likes me." Clara's heart stopped for a moment. She did not know what to say. She felt a sudden fear. She felt a sudden anger. She felt a sudden sadness. May looked at her and her eyes softened. "I'm not saying this to hurt you," she said.
I just think he does. Clara took a deep breath. She tried to stay calm.
How do you know? She asked.
May shrugged. "I just feel it," she said. "He looks at me differently, talks to me differently." Clara looked at her sister. She felt a strange mixture of emotions. She felt proud of May. She felt worried for her. She felt afraid that she would lose her sister to this place. But she also felt something else. She felt a small jealousy. She realized that she had been hoping for something too. She had been hoping that Caleb would see her. She had been hoping that he would look at her the way he looked at May. Clara felt tears in her eyes again. She quickly wiped them away. She did not want May to see. May reached out and touched her hand. "Clara," she said softly, "you are important to me."
You know that, right?
Clara nodded.
Yes, she said.
May smiled. "Then don't worry," she said. "If he likes me, that doesn't mean he doesn't care about you. He is a good man. He will not hurt you." Clara nodded again. She tried to believe her. She tried to believe that she could share this place with May. She tried to believe that love could be possible without taking away everything else. But she could not shake the feeling that something was changing. She could not shake the feeling that the ranch was no longer just a shelter. It was becoming a home. And homes always come with choices. The summer days grew warmer, and the ranch felt alive again. The land was full of green grass, and the animals moved more freely. The sky was clear and bright, and the air smelled of flowers and fresh earth. Clara felt a sense of peace. She felt like the world was finally beginning to heal. But even as the land bloomed, her heart felt heavy. The change in the weather did not change the feelings inside her. She still felt a strange tension between her and May. She still felt the unspoken truth that they were both hoping for something they could not openly say. Clara tried to act normal. She tried to smile and help May with the work. She tried to pretend that she was not afraid of losing her sister to Caleb. She tried to pretend that she was not falling for him. May, on the other hand, seemed more confident than ever. She walked with a new kind of pride. She spoke to Caleb with a soft tone. She laughed more easily. She seemed to be enjoying his company. Clara watched them from a distance sometimes, and she felt a sharp pain in her chest. She wondered if May had already decided that Caleb was the one. She wondered if she had already accepted that her sister would become his partner. Clara did not want to be selfish. She did not want to ruin May's happiness. She did not want to cause trouble. She only wanted to feel loved again. But she also wanted to be seen. One evening, after the work was done, Caleb asked the sisters to sit with him by the fire. He had brought out a bottle of apple cider, and he offered them both a small glass. They sat close together, and the fire made their faces glow. The mood was quiet. The air felt calm. Clara could feel her heart beating faster. She could feel that something important was about to happen. Caleb spoke first. "I have been thinking," he said, "about the future." May looked at him and smiled. "What about it?" she asked. Caleb looked at Clara and May, and then he said, "I cannot keep you here forever. I know you came to me for help, and I was glad to give it.
But I need to know what you want." Clara felt a cold shiver run through her body.
She looked at May. May looked back at her, and her eyes were serious. Caleb continued, "The ranch is not an easy place. It is not a place for people who want comfort. It is a place for people who want work. It is a place for people who want to build something. Clara felt her throat tighten. She wanted to speak, but she did not know what to say. May spoke first. "We want to stay," she said.
We want to work. We want to help.
Caleb nodded. "I know," he said. "But I need to know if you want more than that." Clara's heart pounded. She felt the weight of his words. She felt that he was asking for a decision. She felt that he was asking them to choose. Caleb looked at May and Clara one by one. "I have been alone for a long time," he said. "I am not young anymore. I am not sure how to do this, but I do know that I care about both of you." Clara's eyes widened. She did not know what to think. She did not know if he meant what he said. She did not know if he was simply being kind or if he was truly feeling something deeper. May's face changed. She looked surprised. She looked unsure. She looked like she was trying to hide her emotions. Clara felt her heart twist. She wanted to speak, but she did not know how. Caleb continued, "I want to offer you something. I want to offer you a place here. I want to offer you a life, but I need to know if you want it too." May looked at Clara again. Clara could see the conflict in her eyes. She could see that May was not sure what to say. She could see that May was thinking about her sister. Clara felt a sudden rush of love for May. She felt grateful that her sister cared about her feelings. She felt proud that May was not selfish, but she also felt a sudden fear. She feared that May would say yes without thinking. She feared that May would choose Caleb without thinking about Clara. Clara took a deep breath. She tried to calm herself. She looked at Caleb and said, "We are grateful for everything you have done. We are not ungrateful."
But we need time to think. Caleb nodded slowly.
"I understand," he said. "But I need to know soon. The season is changing. We need to plan." Clara nodded. She felt a heavy weight in her chest. She knew that time was running out. She knew that a decision had to be made. That night, Clara lay in bed and thought about everything. She thought about the life she had lost. She thought about the love she had lost. She thought about the loneliness she had felt. She thought about the way Caleb had looked at her. She thought about the way he had spoken to her. She also thought about May. She thought about her sister's strength. She thought about her sister's kindness. She thought about her sister's dreams. Clara did not know what to do. She did not know if she should tell Caleb how she felt. She did not know if she should fight for him. She did not know if she should let May have him. She felt like she was standing at a crossroads. She could choose one path, but not both. The next day, Clara and May worked quietly. They did not speak much. The air between them felt different. It felt like something was waiting to happen. Caleb noticed the silence. He noticed the tension. He did not speak about it, but Clara could see it in his eyes. Later that day, Caleb asked May to go with him to check the fence. Clara watched them leave. She felt a strange feeling in her chest. She felt like she was being left behind again. She went inside and continued her work. She tried to keep her mind busy. She tried to avoid thinking about the decision, but she could not. When Caleb and May returned, they looked tired. They looked like they had been working hard. May looked at Clara and said, "We need to talk." Clara's heart skipped a beat. She looked at May. May looked serious. They went into the small room. May closed the door behind her. Clara could feel her heart beating. May spoke first. "Clara," she said, "I have been thinking. I have been thinking about Caleb. I think he is a good man. I think he is kind. I think he would be a good partner." Clara felt her throat tighten. She did not know what to say. May continued, "But I also think you deserve to be happy. I think you deserve love. I think you deserve a man who will care for you." Clara looked at her sister. She felt tears in her eyes. She felt a strange mixture of emotions. She felt grateful for May's kindness. She felt sad for her own heart. May reached out and held Clara's hand. "I will not take him away from you," she said. "I promise." Clara looked at May. She felt a deep love for her sister. She felt that May was truly selfless, but she also felt a deep sadness. She felt that she might lose Caleb. She felt that she might lose the only chance she had for love again. Clara did not know what to do. She did not know if she should tell May the truth. She did not know if she should fight for Caleb. She felt trapped between her love for her sister and her love for Caleb. That night, Clara could not sleep. She sat near the fire and thought about everything. She thought about how much she wanted to be loved. She thought about how much she wanted to belong. She thought about how much she wanted to be seen. She wondered if she was being selfish. She wondered if she was being brave. She wondered if she could find a way to be happy without hurting anyone. The next morning, Clara made a decision. She would speak to Caleb. She would tell him how she felt. She would not hide her feelings anymore. She was not sure what would happen. She was not sure if he would feel the same way. She was not sure if he would choose her. But she knew she could not keep living in silence. She waited until the evening. She waited until May was busy in the barn. She waited until the fire was burning low. She waited until the house was quiet. Then she approached Caleb. He was sitting near the fire, looking at the flames. Clara took a deep breath. "Caleb," she said softly, "I need to talk to you." Caleb looked at her. His eyes were calm. "What is it?" he asked. Clara's heart pounded. She felt her hand shake. I am grateful for everything you have done," she said. "I am grateful for your kindness. But I need to tell you something. I have feelings for you." Caleb looked at her for a moment. His face did not change. Clara felt a small fear. She wondered if he would reject her. Then he spoke. "Clara," he said, "I have been thinking about you too." Clara felt her heart leap. She could not believe it. She felt a sudden happiness, like the sun had come out after a long storm. Caleb continued, "I care about you. I care about both of you, but I have been afraid to feel this." "I have been afraid of being hurt again." Clara nodded. She understood. She knew what it meant to be afraid. She knew what it meant to protect your heart. Caleb looked at her and said, "I need time to think. I need time to understand what I truly want." Clara felt a small disappointment, but she also felt a small hope. She knew that he was not rejecting her. She knew that he was being honest. She nodded. "I understand," she said. Caleb nodded back. "Thank you," he said. Clara left the room. She felt a strange mix of emotions. She felt hope, fear, sadness, and excitement all at once. She knew that the next days would be difficult. She knew that the decision would not be easy. She knew that someone would be hurt, but she also knew that she had finally spoken her truth, and that was the first step toward finding her own happiness. The days after Clara's confession felt different. The air on the ranch felt heavier, as if everyone was holding their breath. The work continued, of course. The animals still needed feeding. The fields still needed tending. The house still needed cleaning. But under the surface of everyday life, something had changed. Clara tried to act normal. She tried to smile. She tried to be the same person she had always been. She did not want to make things awkward. She did not want to create tension. She did not want to make May feel uncomfortable. May, however, was not acting the same. She seemed quieter than before. She did not laugh as much. She did not speak as freely. She worked with a steady calm, but there was a sadness in her eyes. Clara could see it. She could feel it. She could not pretend that everything was fine. Caleb, too, seemed different. He was not as distant as before, but he was not as close as Clara had hoped. He seemed to be thinking. He seemed to be trying to understand what he wanted. Clara felt the weight of her choice. She felt that she had changed the balance of the ranch. She felt that she had created a problem that needed to be solved. One morning, Caleb asked the sisters to join him outside. The sky was clear and the air was fresh. The land looked bright. It seemed like a perfect day. But Clara could feel the tension. Caleb stood near the fence, looking at the land. He looked calm, but Clara could tell he was thinking. May stood beside him, and Clara stood a few steps behind. Caleb spoke. "I have made a decision," he said. Clara felt her heart stop for a moment, and she looked at May. May looked at Caleb, her eyes wide. Clara felt a sudden fear. Caleb continued, "I have thought about everything. I have thought about what you both mean to me. I have thought about the life we have built here. I have thought about what I want." Clara's throat felt tight. She waited. Caleb turned to May first. "May," he said, "you are strong. You are brave. You are kind. You have done so much for this ranch. You have been a true help." May looked at him, her eyes shining. She did not speak. She only listened. Caleb then turned to Clara. "Clara," he said, "you are gentle. You are caring. You have made this place feel like a home. You have brought warmth to this house." Clara felt tears in her eyes. She tried to stay strong. She tried to keep her voice steady. Caleb continued, "I care about both of you. I do not want to hurt either of you, but I know that I cannot have both of you in the way you deserve." Clara felt her heart ache. She knew what he meant. She knew that he could not choose both sisters. She knew that someone would be hurt. Caleb looked at May again. "May," he said, "I would like you to stay here. I would like you to be my partner." May's eyes widened. She looked at Clara, as if searching for permission. Clara felt her heart twist. She felt a sharp pain. May did not speak at first. She looked at Caleb, and then she looked at Clara. She took a deep breath. "Caleb," she said softly, "I care about you too. I care about you deeply. But I do not want to cause pain to Clara." Clara felt her throat tighten. She looked at May, and she could see the love in her eyes. She could see the kindness. She could see the conflict. May continued, "I will not accept your offer if it means hurting Clara."
I cannot do that. Caleb looked at May.
He seemed surprised. He seemed touched by her words. He looked at Clara again. Clara felt her heart beating fast. She did not know what to say. She did not know if she deserved this kind of kindness. She did not know if she deserved to be chosen. Caleb took a deep breath. He looked at both sisters. "May," he said, "your kindness is something I admire, but I cannot ask you to give up what you want for someone else. That would not be fair." May looked at him. She nodded slowly. "I know," she said. Caleb turned back to Clara. Clara, he said, I want you to stay. I want you to be with me. I want to build a life with you. Clara felt a rush of emotions. She felt happiness. She felt fear. She felt guilt. She felt relief. She felt love. She looked at May. May's eyes were wet, but she smiled. She nodded as if she was giving her sister permission. Clara looked at Caleb. Are you sure? She asked softly. Caleb nodded. Yes, he said. I am sure.
I have never been more sure of anything. Clara felt tears fall down her cheeks.
She could not stop them. She felt like she had been waiting for this moment for a long time. May walked closer and hugged Clara. I am happy for you, she whispered. I really am. Clara hugged her back. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for being so kind. May stepped back. She looked at Caleb. I will stay here for a while, she said. I will help. I will work. But I will not stay if it hurts Clara. Caleb nodded. I understand, he said. You are always welcome here. May smiled sadly. She looked at Clara one last time. You will always be my sister, she said. No matter what. Clara nodded. You will always be mine too, she said. After that, the ranch changed again. The tension eased. The work continued. The days passed. Clara and Caleb began to build a life together. They worked side by side. They shared meals. They talked about the future. They learned to trust each other. They learned to love each other. May continued to work on the ranch. She helped with the animals and the house. She stayed close, but she kept her distance. She did not try to come between them. She did not try to cause trouble. She simply wanted to be a part of the place that had given them shelter. Over time, Clara and Caleb's relationship grew stronger. They learned to speak openly. They learned to share their feelings. They learned to forgive the past and move forward. Clara began to feel a sense of peace she had not felt in a long time. She began to feel like she belonged. She began to feel like she had a home again. May, too, began to find her own peace. She began to think about her own future. She began to plan for a life outside the ranch. She began to think about traveling to a nearby town and finding work there. She began to think about starting her own life. One day, May told Clara about her plans. Clara felt a strange sadness. She did not want May to leave. She did not want to be alone again. But she also knew that May needed her own life. Clara hugged May and said, I will miss you. May smiled. I will miss you too, she said. But this place will always be our home. The day May left was quiet. There were no big goodbyes. There were no tears. There was only a simple farewell. May packed her belongings and walked toward the road. She turned back once, looked at Clara and Caleb, and waved. Clara watched her go. She felt a deep sadness, but she also felt a deep gratitude. She felt grateful for everything May had done. She felt grateful for the love she had shown. Clara looked at Caleb. He stood beside her. He held her hand. He looked at the land and then at her. Thank you, Clara said softly. Caleb nodded. You don't need to thank me, he said.
You deserve happiness, Clara smiled. She felt the warmth of the sun on her face.
She felt the wind in her hair. She felt the life she had built around her. She knew that the future would not always be easy. She knew that there would be hard days. She knew that the work would continue. She knew that life would not be perfect. But she also knew that she was no longer alone. She knew that she had found love again, and she knew that she had found a home.